I hold here in my formerly nicotine-stained fingers a copy of the Penult. This is a collection of stories by Colin. Or is it G? We don't really know. Let's say Gee is short for McGee, so let's go with Gee. This is a weird collection of absurdist, surrealist short stories. This is the kind of short stories weirdness that Alice would look around and go, whoa, this is some weird stuff. There's a couple of subtle nods to Groucho Marx in this thing. He does not mention Groucho Marx directly. Just puts him in there in a couple of weird places. One is a story that's titled Outside a Dog. And Groucho Marx fans will remember the quote, outside of a dog, or inside of a dog. Outside of a dog, a book is a man's best friend. Inside of a dog, it's too dark to read. Here's another reference stuck in the middle of one of the short stories about a professor who's been fired or lost his English department. To maintain a certain style of living in the land of trademark worshippers where outside a dog, a book is judged by its cover. Because inside a dog, it's too dark to judge a book by its cover. I told you it gets weird, and it gets a little weirder from there as it goes on. He has 3 stories in here out of the 87 that pay tribute to Emily Dickinson poems. It's a soft sea washed around the house. Remember, Emily Dickinson didn't title her poem, so we know them by the first line of the poem. Then there's another one. A dying tiger moaned for a drink. And then he also has one that's pretty much everybody's favorite Emily Dickinson poem. Because I could not stop for death, he kindly stopped for me. It's about death coming by in a carriage and giving Emily Dickinson a ride. Well, Colin Gee takes us inside that carriage and on the ride. You wonder, what did it look like inside that carriage? Where did the carriage end up? Colin Gee goes there. I said, who is this other fellow? This is Emily Dickinson speaking to death in the carriage. We're inside the carriage now. I said, who is this other fellow, motioning to a form that shivered under a blanket in the corner for all the world, and stars with a body as frail, peaked, and infuriating as my own? He's wearing my shoes. It's just an old woman, smirked to death from deep inside his cowl, gleaming from his icicle teeth and glacier-smooth cheekbones from hundreds of centuries of slowly dripping water or lack thereof. "'Tis I myself," I accused him, not about to take cheek from an entity with no cheeks, from a creep with no business really straggling among the living. He looked at me, looked away. He did not reply, did not negotiate. Why had I gotten into a carriage with death, I asked myself, but already knew the answer. That's what it looks like inside the carriage. Where does the carriage end up? Finally, we stopped before a house. I looked deep into the house. It seemed to be nothing but a goddamn pile of dirt. No one told me it was a house, but I have been living there ever since. Centuries go by. They are a lot shorter than a lot of the moments I experienced when I was alive, of terror, panic, searing shame, numb extremities, in that order. He's also got a story in here that makes you wonder if Colin Gee is a ham radio operator. He makes reference to CW radio Morse code. That's a term nobody but a ham radio operator would know. I used to be one 40 years ago, and that's the first time I've heard in 40 years CW. And what about, he has a story in here about someone inside of a witch's hut. I guess he could say we're in some continental fairy tale, I don't know. The witch tells the guy, go out and get some stones so I can make some soup, otherwise we're going to have to order pizza again. I'm just telling you what she said. So the guy goes out, he's a little confused, doesn't know what to do. I said, Whether these are rocks or stones, I swear you will have to enlighten me. For where the rock ends and the stone begins, or vice versa, has always been my conundrum. Told you it's weird. He also has a story in here about somebody who arranges all the emails on his laptop, his email program, to be sent out in the event of his death. And then there's a little problem there. One of the emails got out by accident to one of his relatives, and then he's got to straighten that mess out. Short stories, they need a good opening line, and you know you're in for a good one when you get opening line like this. This story is entitled My Hudson Terraplane. Wonder what a terraplane is? I guess opposite of an airplane. I don't know. Told you this guy's weird. When God spoke to me for the first time, he told me to sell my collection of antique rocking horses, walk down to a specific address in Bellevue Central, and buy what I found for sale there. All right. Surrealists give us stories. You expect them to give you stories about mermaids. I guess that's one of the more common things you see from absurdists, surrealists. Well, the one he gives us here is a little bit odd. The guy's going about to have this sexual encounter with a mermaid, but then he wonders, well, shit, those scales might be rough and fish stinks. What a trip this is. If you like the weird and the unexpected, here's your collection of short stories. How many pages is this? This is 354 pages, 87 stories, and 2 novellas. Keep you moving fast-paced like one of these thriller novels. You definitely want to check this one out. Do not trip acid before you pick this book up. Let me warn you right now.